Beginning streaming now.
He's streaming now, so everyone mute.
Well,
No.
okay. Our happiness does. Hold on. Man, there's so many tiers of lag on this. So many layers. Okay, our happiness does hereby invite the House of Virgins and all others who may be interested, blah, 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 to the House of Nerds for the second State of the Confederation, second address from the throne on the State of the Confederation.
Camera's still loading.
Can anyone hear me or not? I don't know what's happening.
Now we can hear you on Twitter.
Okay, but I don't know why. Okay,
Try turning on the camera again.
Never mind. I was confused. Okay. Like I said, I've never done an event.
There we go.
I have never done an event, so I was just trying to make sure everything was working. Okay, let me pull up the speech. Wherever I put my speech. I am incredibly prepared.
As his happiness always is.
I've sent it to you again.
Yes, thank you, Prime Minister. Okay, this is the second Address from the throne on the state of the Confederation. This is following the general election for the 44th Parliament. Friends, Alabastians, countrymen, our happiness comes to you this day to speak of our shared history, of the glorious present days, and our responsibilities of the future. Under the 43rd Parliament, New Australia experienced interesting times. The scandals and secession crises of the Josephites were fresh in the minds of the people, and so they flocked to the Floppites for refuge. Unfortunately, the 43rd Parliament's regime was filled with its own corruptions, denying the peoples their right to due process, and scheming against the wishes of the people. And then came Alabast. You are all, we trust, aware of our glorious High Kaiser and his incredible deeds in the realm of memory across discord. The moderators of Christford shake in their boots at the memory of his great and terrible means. For New Australia, he was a shining star, an example for us all. Our country, one nation under memes, looked up to Alabast as a faraway figure, hoping to glimpse a fraction of his cringe from afar. Yet Alabast took pity on us and has arrived, on a day which we will now be honored. On a day which we will now be honored in all of our memories as the day of arrival, June 30th, 2022. Alabast graced us all with his physical presence in New Australia. He came with a healing hand and a meme-filled heart to save this nation from its terrible divisions. Immediately upon joining the ranks of New Australia, our glorious High Kaiser realized New Australia's ailments. The faithful of the Alabastian Orthodox Church were split between the Josephite and Floppite factions, each claiming to be loyal adherents to the one true Alabastian faith. Meanwhile, the church's leaders did little to establish good relations between these two groups and make the church a unified entity once again. Alabast knew what he must do: transform the New Australian branch of the Alabastian Orthodox Church into the cold, oppressive monolith it was always meant to be. To accomplish this goal, Alabast founded the Alabastian Dominion, a nation matching the capital of the Alabastian Empire, Theologia. The expressed goals of the Alabastian Dominion were and are righteous and befitting of the High Kaiser: to strengthen the church in New Australia despite the divisions between the Josephites and the Floppites, by way of official alliances with other nations, to clarify the doctrines of the Alabastian Orthodox Church, and to centralize and strengthen the power of the church in New Australia. This goal was first met by saving New Australia's oppression of the 43rd administration. He allied himself with the states who had been disenfranchised by the 43rd administration's regime in order to... Oh, no. Oh, what? Oh, so they are. Oops. He allied himself with the states who had been disenfranchised by the 43rd administration's regime in order to impeach the incumbent prime minister, along with his corrupt cabinet. The alliance the High Kaiser formed in order to save the nation from its oppression was one which sparks hope and joy into the hearts of men: the Cabal. Within the Cabal, High Kaiser Alabast XIII planned with the disenfranchised to efficiently impeach and convict the members of the corrupt government and give the powerless what they deserve. All of this would have gone flawlessly if the corrupt prime minister, peace be upon him, had not maliciously infiltrated the Cabal and with this stolen information worked in his reign of terror to illegally imprison its members. But Alabast will not abide corruption against the church. Despite the 43rd administration's pointless efforts, Alabast and his cabal succeeded. One of the evil incumbent's own ministers righteously rebelled against him and gave the cabal its required votes to impeach the prime minister, peace be upon him. with the threat of the 43rd Parliament neutralized, Alabast ascended to the role of Minister of Truth, where he was enabled to spread the verses of the Alabastian Orthodox scriptures to the entire nation. With a new state, the cabinet emptied of its corruptions, and the parliament filled with Alabastian allies, Alabast was well on his way to saving New Australia. But in its current state, Pax Alabastia could not be maintained. There still arose those who would attempt to stop the church from establishing its cold death grip of a clutch over the nation. It's not actually the 43rd administration, but one of the corrupt former prime minister's final actions was removing Waffledonia from the loving hands of Waffle Davy, the dear patriarch and Clarice of New Australia. However, dear Alabastians, hope was not lost. After impeaching the prime minister of the 43rd administration, which was actually like the 38th or something, he also took him to court for his terrible crimes of impersonation and perjury. Mercifully, Alabast allowed this unforgivable man to escape the full punishment he deserved for his crimes, if only the state of Waffledonia was returned to its rightful owner. And so the stage was set for the next great controversy of Alabast's times, Big Floppa. Alabast has never hated Floppa. Never in the entirety of all history has Alabast ever said a bad word about Floppa. And so he supported the newly founded Floppist Revolutionary Front in their struggle to maintain the veneration of Big Floppa. Unfortunately, there arose those who rejected the veneration of Floppa and favored the support of Bingus. These villains, foreigners from the dreadful state of Estatum. Droves and droves of Estadian foreigners entered our wonderful nation, praising Bingus. This could not stand, so the just and venerable Asterfer moved to declare war on Estatum for its crimes. A war which we won, by the way. We won that war so hard. But let us speak on the events of this war, of this day, of July 27th, 2022, of the crisis. Shortly after noon on July 27th, 2022, a wondrous prophet of Rob came to New Australia bearing prophecies and warnings. Sir, concerned citizen expressed worries about the current administration, about the Alabastian Fundamentalist Party, worries which our happiness might add. Sir, concerned citizen, praise be unto his memory, would be gladdened to know have been addressed. Sir, concerned citizen was concerned. The vile Josephites were attempting to take over New Australia, using the Alabastian Fundamentalist Party as a guise to create a one-party state, taking this as a personal attack on his good intentions. Alabast, peace be upon him, revealed his plans for his cabinet. A tripartisan cabinet meant to heal the divides in the nation, hardly the stuff of one-party states. Sir, concerned citizen was silenced, but trouble was brewing. The Josephites were prepared to reveal their true, terrible intentions. Joey, who had pretended to be a loyal Alabastian up to this point, rebelled against the monolith of the church and was swiftly punished. He demanded to be given a position he would never deserve. He schismed from the Alabastian Orthodox Church, declaring himself to be both a High Kaiser and a Heilig. The terrible Joey became history's first ever anti-High Kaiser. He was removed from the cabinet, expelled from the House of Virgins, and removed from the ranks of the clergy. In reaction, he initiated another secession crisis. He announced a referendum to the peoples of Wyoming, petitioning them to declare independence for New Australia. When his own people voted a resounding no, an incredible turnout of 429,690 votes in Wyoming against secession, he consulted his crony, the Sultan of Wyoming, and seceded despite his people's wishes. However, Joey would not simply be appeased with seceding and allowing Wyoming to be annexed. Joey declared that if he could not rule Wyoming, then no one could. On the 27th of July, 2022, he fired nuclear warheads at his home state of Wyoming, sinking the entire state beneath the sea. In the wake of the wreckage, there were hundreds of thousands of confirmed deaths at the hands of the terrible Joey. The Josephites were no more, for Joey had murdered them all. This is not the end of the tale of the crisis. The dastardly Joey escaped, fleeing New Australia to find asylum with Estatum, with Bingus, the loyal veterans of New Australia, who justly deserved the veterans' benefit. No, I'm not reading that.
Read it!
The loyal veterans continued their attacks on the Statum to defeat the evil Venus. The terrible war on the world, who had devised such evils in Joey's mind. The righteous, concerned citizen was on the front lines, chasing toward the goal to bring Venus to justice. And just when victory was within reach, concerned citizen's life was brought to an end by Joey, who coldly shot him in the head to protect the Venus. But behold, something as small as death could not keep Sir Concerned Citizen away from protecting his beloved nation. The ghost of Sir Concerned Citizen appeared on the battlefield to wage war against the Estadians. With his help, Venus was captured and taken as prisoner to New Australia. The Josephite menace was not content merely to destroy an entire state of New Australia, murdering thousands and leaving thousands more homeless, as well as executing the martyr, Sir Concerned Citizen. But even after Sir Concerned Citizen's brave sacrifice, Joey enticed Alduin to attack the execution of Venus and allow him to escape. Our happiness still has no clue who Alduin even is. And thus began the most foul chapter of the time of the 43rd. It was the 43rd Parliament, the Foreign Menaces Campaign. The leader of Estatum, Vix, announced his campaign to run for Prime Minister of New Australia. To support him, he brought Joey back to New Australia and, abusing his powers as an ambassador, convinced the poor acting Deputy Prime Minister to grant Joey citizenship once again. Joey handed over Venus to New Australia as a sign of goodwill to attempt to entice voters to bring Vix's party to power. The terrible Vixus convinced many leaders to abandon the veneration of the Floppa and malign the worship of the glorious leader and that Rob guy. Fortunately, through an act of the great Alabastian monolith, Alabast succeeded in becoming Prime Minister of New Australia. Peace be upon him. He defeated the foreign menace and has protected New Australia from invaders, schemers, plotters, and other such evil buzzwords, both from within and without. And just to be clear, the war against the Statum, although it was declared by the Parliament, no action was actually authorized by the United Confederacy, and all actions were taken by the states. Now we must look forward. Since the great and venerable High Kaiser Alabast XIII's arrival in New Australia, the nation has only become greater, and under an Alabastian administration, Pax Alabastia is assured. Nothing could go wrong. Nothing at all. Not a chance. Alabast, peace be upon him, Alabast's first actions upon becoming Prime Minister, peace be upon him, are only a shadow of what is to come in New Australia over the coming month. Under the Alabast administration, the House of Virgins has changed its rules to be more efficient. Under the Alabast administration, the House of Nerds was emptied of non-state heads because it was beneficial in this moment. Under the Alabast administration, peace was established with the state in order to allow the Alabastian Orthodox Church to spread its shadow to all lands. Under the Alabast administration, the Venus was executed on the 1st of August 2022. Many such things and plans will be executed in the coming months. Over the course of the Alabastian administration, you can be assured the Pax Alabastia will reign supreme. The power of the church will continue to grow, and its cold, seething tendrils will continue to wrap lovingly around each and every citizen of New Australia, whether they like it or not. The Alabastian administration loves you. There is nothing to fear. 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 Furthermore, our happiness announces that henceforth, our happiness will call for a general election of both the Prime Minister, peace be upon him, and of the House of Virgins, whenever the House of Virgins issues a vote of no confidence in the government. And should the House of Virgins wish to issue such a vote of no confidence, we would even hold a general election this weekend. And that is the end of the speech, so we shall now depart to...
Kansas Doge returned!
So we shall now depart to General for the reception.
Kansas Doge is back!
Well, that's a great way to end the speech. Also, Port Arthur Daily News reported it first. Suck it, DNN.
What part of the speech did you skip?